Hello everybody and welcome to this video of myself and Mr. Simon Bates.
Hello.
We are here to talk tenor sax mouthpieces and specifically what's the nearest thing to a link you can buy without buying a link, essentially. And we say it slightly lightheartedly because we've done a separate video where we compare the two modern day hard rubber links, so you can check that out. But there are so many mouthpieces on the market which fundamentally are, copy is not the right word, but are heavily influenced by the classic link style of design, which commonly means large chamber, slight baffle, depending on which version, and usually a long facing as well.
Yeah, I think like saxophones, a lot of saxophones have been influenced by the Mark VI.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of mouthpieces have been, tenor mouthpieces have been influenced by the link.
That's a good comparison. Yeah. And maybe on alto it's Mayer and so on and so forth.
Think, yeah, you're right.
So that's a very good comparison. So really we wanted to do this just to say, we know there's a lot of people who maybe have tried modern links, don't particularly like modern links. There's plenty of people that do like them. They have a particular sound. There's a darkness and a schmaltziness. But I think what's interesting now is that there's three, in our opinion, there's lots, but there's three main alternatives that are out there that maybe follow that roadmap, but deliver it in a different way to give you a different sound. And we're not here to say one's better or worse than the other. That doesn't really mean anything. We're just here with Simon to demonstrate them all and chat a little bit about each one. So we've got three. We've got the D'Addario, the Select Jazz. These are all in a tip opening of 8, and Simon is using a Van Doren Jazz 3
That's right.
reed on there, and we're using Simon's 875 tenor with a V1 neck on there as well. We've got the D'Addario Select Jazz, we've got the JODY Jazz HR Star, and we've got an Aizen in the LS model. These are all tip opening of 8. So let's get going with the Select Jazz. The D'Addario have got into mouthpieces a lot, haven't they, recently? We've got the Select Jazz on alto and tenor. No doubt there'll be a soprano or baritone, I would imagine, in due course. But their principle is to use very high-tech machinery, CNC machines. I think they've got 2 or 3 now, that make these mouthpieces very, 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 very consistently. So there should be very little variance within them because of the tolerances they're making to, and they're being milled, not moulded. So that means when it's actually produced, the material isn't cooling down like they might do on the links, which can give variances as well. But the Select Jazz has been developed with modern players to have that kind of vintage link in a way, probably sound, that vibrancy. But Simon, let's have a little hear of what it can do and your thoughts. So we made the joke about link but not a link. So let's just get your feelings on it versus a modern day Ebonite link, standard Ebonite.
It's brighter, it's a bit louder, it's a bit ruder, if you like. Yeah, I mean, I quite like it, but one of the reasons I have a link in my case is for the darkness that you get from the standard link. So this is perhaps edging more to the sort of vintage, brighter link sound. It's nice, but I think, you know, if I had this, I probably wouldn't have the need to swap mouthpieces as I do. Perhaps a bit more versatile than just having the link.
I think that's probably a good word, versatile. I think if you are doing a bit of everything, but you want generally a darker sound than, say, a metal Guardala setup, which is Simon's other alternative, and you want that large chamber kind of feel, then that might be a really good option. They are very consistent, I will say that. We've tried loads back to back, and they pretty much all do exactly the same thing. So again, if you're recommending for a student and you want to know what they're actually going to get, then that's a really safe thing to go for. But maybe in the versatility, it doesn't quite do the dark thing as dark as a link.
No, that's for sure.
Although it can do it, but not totally, yeah. Okay, well, let's move on with the test. So we're just going to take a moment and we're going to swap over to the JODY Jazz HR Star in an 8, and we'll be back and chat to you about that in a sec. Okay, so we're back and we've got the Jody Jazz HR Star in a number 8 tip opening on the saxophone. And Jody Jazz do a wide range of mouthpieces on alto, tenor, soprano, baritone, the usual thing. Metals, they do various versions. And on the hard rubber, this HR Star, they still use genuine hard rubber, so it's not like a hybrid mix like some of the others are, including the Aizen, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So it's genuine hard rubber. It does have this kind of matte look effect though, so it doesn't look like a classic link. And actually, hard rubber can vary, so the propriety of it can vary, and the density of that can vary, and therefore the sound will vary as well. So although it follows a vague link design in terms of round, larger chamber, it blows quite differently, and we're probably going to find that out in a second. So we wanted to point out one little thing about ligatures. The Rico H ligature is supplied with the Jody Jazz, whereas the Aizen and the D'Addario don't come with a lig, so you do have to do that separately. So where there is a lig, we'll try it with the one that comes with it. But Simon, let's just have a little blow and then we'll just get your feelings on that as well. So, feelings, maybe, again, let's compare with a classic link and then maybe versus the D'Addario as well.
Yeah, I think it's very different to a classic link. It's a lot brighter, it's a lot naughtier. You can, play a bit of funk on it, something like that. You can even sit in a horn section quite happily and play it. Is it mellow? Has it got that mellow link vibe? Yeah, I guess if you play like that, it has. Yeah, I mean, it's a good versatile mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
Maybe, I think just from maybe that density that you find on a good link is not quite there when you're in that mellower zone. But I think the trade-off, like Simon's definitely said, is the versatility it could give you across a whole load of different things. And I would say, actually, we should point that out, Jody Jazz, D'Addario, they're not trying to make a copy of the modern link. I think they're trying to make things that probably are more versatile, maybe like an older link. But then, like we say, are you doing all things but not quite doing one thing? I'm not sure. It's different ways of looking at it.
That's a nice mouthpiece as well.
Very well made again, Jody Jazz. We find they're very consistent
yeah.
and they do a great metal range. We might get into that one day. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to carry on and we're going to go to the Aizen. They do a few different variants, but this is the LS, which stands for Link Slant. So that's what it's essentially, a copy of the slant model links. And again, an 8-tip opening. And they use kind of a hybrid resin on some of the mouthpieces and standard ebonite on others, but this is the hybrid, and it makes it physically lighter, and it does change the sound a bit. So we're going to change onto that, and we'll come back and give it a blow, and you can hear what you think. Okay, so we're back, and we've got the Aizen 8 on there. So again, this is the LS model, and so Aizen, bit of history, made in Japan, a very enthusiastic maker. Minoru is the guy that owns it and designs all the mouthpieces. Huge collector of mouthpieces. He's got, God knows, I mean, hundreds of vintage Mayers, links, but all sorts of things, Larsons, you name it, he's got it. And I think what they really did with this was they wanted to create the closest thing they could to the ultimate link style mouthpiece, and that is a passion of theirs to deliver. And they use this hybrid kind of resin material because manufacturing-wise, it creates an extremely even finish that is very repeatable, and they are hand-checked and hand-looked at as well before output. So
doesn't look much like a link, to be honest.
No, externally, no, but internally, yes, with the chamber, etc. But let's have a little blow. Now, this just before we do, sorry, Simon. Price-wise, we should point out the D'Addario is the most affordable or the cheapest of the three, and then there's the Jody Jazz, and they both come out about the same price as a link. Hard rubber vintage new model, if that makes sense. And then you've got the Aizen, which is about another 100 and a bit pounds more. So there is a bit of a jump up. Mm-hmm. But let's have a... But
the cheapest is the classic link.
Yes, it is, yes. The cheapest link is a link, funnily enough. So what do you say, Simon?
It's got good control. It's perhaps a bit more linkish than the others, but yeah, I mean, it's an expensive mouthpiece. I wouldn't want to be swapping around. I wouldn't want it as a spare or anything like that. This would have to be your major mouthpiece. It works. It's got a good sound.
Feels a bit darker, perhaps, than the other two,
it does, yeah.
which have a certain vibrancy. So it depends again what you want there. But I think, you know, part of the idea of doing the video was just, okay, we're being slightly lighthearted about the fact that links are links and these aren't links, but that sort of design is a very important design. That larger chamber, etc., as we've talked about. And there are lots of versions out there. So we'd really encourage you, if you like that kind of vibe, do open your mind to trying a few different things. Put the standard link in if you want to test, and then try it against these sorts of things as well. We do an approval period so you can try 3 or 4 mouthpieces at once in the store or at home. You can take them away for 2 weeks and see how you get on with them. And really, whatever we say, whatever we demonstrate, it fundamentally comes down to when you blow it, you know, what does it do sound-wise and what does it feel like? That's the big thing, isn't it? The feeling you get back as a player.
Absolutely, yeah. Very important.
Cool. Well, hopefully you found that useful. Do drop us a comment in the comments box if you have any questions, and subscribe to stay in touch with all our latest videos. But for now, thank you, Simon, and we'll speak to you again soon.